at that earlier stage, I felt like it'd be really cool if I could clone myself. I remember thinking that if I just had 2 more of me.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, I realized that would be really bad. I think one's just right.
Yeah.
And I surrounded myself with people that were more skilled in other areas than me, that were smarter in other areas than myself. And through doing so, that's where I started having more success, is recognizing that my understanding was good, but as I involved other people's understanding and knowledge and life experiences, we had a lot more success faster.
Welcome to Bootstraps and Battle Scars, the podcast by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. And I'm your host, Chris Shurian. I am what you would call a champion of entrepreneurs. I love the entrepreneurial journey. I love the stories that come with the entrepreneurial journey. And my goal is to every podcast episode is to have a guest who has built their business from scratch, who understands what bootstraps means, and maybe has some battle scars to show for it. So today, I have with me Bronc Walker.
Howdy.
Bronc, thanks for coming in. Now, Bronc and I have known each other. We were just doing some math. It's been 25-ish years that we've known each other.
Yeah.
Right when you were first getting into business, and I was in business already, but I was only a few years ahead of you, so not very far. We were both pretty green. And that's when we met. You were doing work. I was a contractor, and you were doing work for me. You were an HVAC contractor. So you've had a lot of success. I've followed it over the years. You and I became disconnected a little bit as I moved out of construction and you kept going on. But Bronc has a story. And this is Bronc's very first podcast.
Yep, that's true.
And that's cool. And just remember, there's no cameras here. There's nothing happening. You and I are just having lunch together and we're sharing stories. Because we had lunch about a month ago. And it was really fun to catch up. And it was really awesome how you actually remember a lot of things that I didn't remember. And and hopefully we get into those stories. But I remember, one story you told me was about how I told you to cut your hair.
And you said how the times have turned or something like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Now you're the one saying, hey, here's my barber, go get your haircut. But anyways, I want to talk about this, and I want you to first just, tell me about yourself. I want to know more about you personally. Like I kind of know where you grew up. We're in Utah, obviously, but tell me a little about your personal journey, where you grew up, how you got into the business you got into, and tell me a little about your family. I want to hear about your wife. You've been married for
29 years.
29 years. Mm-hmm. Do you know the date?
Of course.
Your wife is watching.
August 31st.
Attaboy. Mm-hmm. Okay. What year?
Of 96.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. Because we're going to have probably 2 people watching this podcast, my mother and
my
your wife,
There
right? So at least we got that right. My mom was born April 10th, so there you go.
Oh, okay.
You're welcome, Mom. Okay, so anyways, take a minute. Tell me about yourself personally. Let's start off with a little bit of a personal take on this.
Okay. Well, I've always enjoyed being an entrepreneur of one sort or another. When I was young, I remember...
And where'd you grow up?
In Mona, here
Mona,
in Utah.
Mm-hmm. Well, which is a small town.
I was born in Rexburg, Idaho, and spent a few years there.
Like your parents were in college up there or something?
He worked in law enforcement.
Oh, okay.
And so he was going to college there at one point, but then he was also working in law enforcement there.
Okay, and this is how it's going to go. I'm going to interrupt you, and we're going to deviate.
No worries.
Right?
Okay.
Where's the name Bronc come from? Because that's like the coolest name.
Thank you.
Like, did they just make it up? Were they watching a Clint Eastwood movie?
No.
Like, what was Bronc?
They wanted their children to have masculine and feminine names. It's never been mistaken as a feminine name, so... And it's a unique name. My other siblings also have really cool names.
So, for example?
My older sister is Fawn.
Fawn. Yeah. That's a girl name.
Yeah. And then Thad.
Thad.
Misty.
Spencer.
And Amy.
Yeah. Oh, you have an Amy. I have an Amy.
You do.
And a Bronc. Okay.
Right.
Sorry, Bronc. You grew up in Mona, Utah, small town, farming community.
Yeah, I lived outside of town. And just, we've had animals, we've had horses as part of our life, all growing up and into my life as an adult. And then, so I enjoyed entrepreneur stuff when I was young. There was a catalog called the Oriental Trading Company. You've seen that? Remember that?
Oh, yeah, totally.
And I would buy things out of that, specifically bendable pencils and light up yo-yos. And I would take them to school and sell them for twice what I bought them for.
No kidding?
And enjoyed the opportunities that created, and realized at a young age that I wanted to do business. I wanted to do sales of some sort and be an entrepreneur.
So how old were you when you were buying bendable pencils and light up yo-yos?
That would have started so I was selling other things in elementary, but I think that started in junior high or middle school.
So anyone could have gone on Oriental Trading. Anyone could have bought those things for the same price you were paying for them, but they didn't.
But I'd buy them in bulk.
Yeah.
And then
Go sell and make money.
Right.
Make some lunch money. Okay, good.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that. And then
See, I was taking lunch money from kids too back then.
in a different way.
But it was a little different. I wasn't selling them bendable pencils.
I was watching out for guys like you.
Exactly. Okay.
And then when I was in high school, I decided I wanted to run a business, and I chose, through some guidance of my parents, chose to do HVAC. And so as a senior in high school, I actually stopped going to high school and went to college. So I finished my high school in college.
Like a concurrent enrollment type thing.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Okay, now HVAC is heating and air conditioning.
That is correct.
Okay. Now I do remember early on when I first met you, and you told me that story that in high school you wanted to be
An HVAC
an HVAC guy, and I'm like,
what?
and it's not because your parents were doing it, and I thought that was odd. I mean, Bronc is a cool name, but the fact that you wanted to be an HVAC guy in high school, I was kind of like,
Really?
okay, interesting.
And I enjoy
Carry on.
it. So I enjoy working with my hands. I don't do well sitting behind a desk, and I enjoy people. So being out in front of people was something that allowed, as well as working with my hands. And then I would do some desk work, but I wasn't tied behind a desk all day, which
Right.
I knew that wasn't what worked for me.
Okay, so you started this, you did the concurrent enrollment, you graduated high school essentially, and had what, did you already have some sort of certificate from the local university?
So I did that for 2 years and learned the trade, and then started working in the industry. And
back then it's now Utah Valley University, but back then it was Utah Valley Community College maybe, or
UVCC.
Utah Valley Community College, and they have a great trades program.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
And now they've put it into MTech, which has also done a really good job.
Right, okay, yeah. So kids now, like my son, his junior year in high school, he took a class at MTech in automotive mechanics. And I think it's a great program, and they get credit for it.
Really good program.
The school pays for it. Yeah. So, yeah, great program.
Yeah, so that's where I started. Worked in the industry for a year, and then I left for 2 years to go serve a mission for our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Where'd you go?
To Puerto Rico.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was cool.
That's cool. So you speak Spanish?
Spanglish. Yeah.
Puerto Rican.
Right, Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I speak some Spanish, and I used that. And then I came home and worked in the industry a little bit longer, at which point I said, I know it all. You know, when you're at that age, you think you know everything.
So you were working for somebody else, and you have what we call an entrepreneurial seizure. That's what we call that. I read a book one time,
really?
Entrepreneurial Seizure. So you had this moment where you're like, I can just do it myself.
Oh, no. That seizure came long before.
Did it?
So
Yeah.
I knew that was my path.
Okay.
And that was what I was working toward. That's why I was working in the industry, is to get experience.
Oh, yeah.
And
Okay.
so I don't think I had the seizure. I might have been born with it, or it happened when I was real young.
We'll ask your parents about that one. Yeah.
And then from there, I decided to start the business. That was my wife knew that was my intent. And so we were supportive of each other. She actually ran the office. I ran the field. But I remember coming home from work and saying, hon, it's time. Well,
Oh, so you were married.
oh,
and
okay. Oh, yeah. So then
so
we
you're
get
already married.
Yeah. So we get
and you're
married.
working for somebody else. Okay. Learning as much as you can learn.
Yeah. And now I feel like I'm ready to conquer the world. So
Yeah.
I come home and tell my wife, well, we'd been married for 6 months. And at that point, we were 3 months pregnant. So I
Good.
quit my job with a pregnant wife.
Yeah.
And said, let's go, and started the business. And she ran the field side. Excuse me, she ran the office side of it. I ran the field
So this
side
would
of
have been in like 96,
it.
97.
That would have been 97.
Okay, 97.
Yeah, March of 97.
Wow.
And then 6 months later, our first child was born, and how my wife kept up with things, I don't know.
Well, she's pretty awesome.
She is.
She's a strong woman.
She is.
In fact, when you think about the Mormons coming across the plains, your wife would have been
one of the tough ones.
perfect for that.
Yeah.
She would have been leading that handcart. You would have been
Right.
trying to
Wait
keep
for
up.
me, dear.
And she's like, "Hurry up, boy."
You know her.
Yeah, she's a great woman. So, what did you name your son?
Caleb Fisher.
That's not as exciting as Bronc. You didn't want a little Bronco too or anything. You just
Well, all the great ideas I had, my wife says no. Like my last name's Walker, so I thought Luke, Sky might be good, or other things. But yeah, no.
well.
But
I'm sure your son is thankful that your mom
thankful,
that his mom
yeah.
put her foot down. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
Well, just funny story. My mom wanted to name me Christopher Robin,
oh, that's funny.
and gratefully my dad said
Nope. Right. The bright ideas we have when we're young parents.
Christopher Scott. That's more, Okay. Okay. So a year later, 6 months later, you have a little boy.
Yeah.
You're doing it.
Yeah. And that was a stressful time, but an exciting time. It was really cool to feel like we knew so much, but we knew so little. But to start that journey of running a business, which is something I'd planned on and dreamed on for my whole life, as well as being a father. So they both happened within the same year, and so that was really cool.
And so were you in the HVAC business? I know you can do. There's service work and there's like new construction work.
Right.
So were you focused on one or the other, or are you just kind of taking whatever jobs you could get?
So the training I had up to that point was service and replacement with some new construction.
Okay, so going to somebody's existing home, their system's old, it's not functioning, you go replace it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And starting into it, I was doing a lot of service and started getting into the new construction market as well, which caused me to have to learn a lot of what I didn't already know.
Right.
I had some experience in that, but I needed to learn a lot more on top.
Because it is a little different business.
Very much
Like
so.
nowadays, there's a lot of guys, contractors like yourself, that either specialize in one or the other.
Correct.
Because it is different. I mean, I imagine my understanding from my perspective is the pricing's different, the labor situation is different. It's just a different.
Your employees are different.
Employees are different.
Your customers.
Yeah.
You're working with a contractor versus a homeowner.
Yeah, which is also different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you started working for me, I think we were doing a lot of remodeling.
Yep.
Because I started off heavy in the remodel world.
And that was what we were focusing on.
And you were focused on that too. So you were helping me, like if we were doing room additions, you were extending the units. We were replacing units quite often to handle the additional square footage.
Yeah.
But then we also started doing some new construction.
Right.
And I think you came along with us.
On some of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a little bit of that. Very little, actually, now that I think about it. And it was right about that time frame, in 07 or 08, that we stepped out of the new construction market completely.
Good timing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Good timing, yeah.
And at that point, we really honed in on what I felt like we did best, which was service and the replacement market.
Okay, so tell me, having done both, I want to know what's the difference? Like, what are the things you have to be cognizant of? Is that a word, cognizant?
I know
That's a
what you
good
mean.
word, huh?
Yeah, I think it is.
It's a big word.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll just, my mom will be so proud.
Good.
What are the things you have to be cognizant of on doing service work versus things that happen on new construction? Like, what's the difference in that? And tell me a little bit about that.
So when you're in a customer's home, walking on their new carpet or their clean carpet, you need to send a guy in there that represents your business plan or your vision or that they represent you well. Whereas on new construction, doesn't matter how they're dressed or if they smell like cigarette smoke or whatever, but walking into a homeowner's area smelling like cigarette smoke is generally not a good practice. So
Right.
the type of person you would hire in either case would be different.
Because a new construction job site, you're there early on. There's no homeowners.
Right.
It's just everyone's showing up.
You can spit on the floor. You can track mud on the floor. None of it
Throw your
matters.
trash in the corner.
Yeah.
Relieve yourself in the vents.
I hope not, but crazier things have happened.
Sure.
Yeah. Whereas in the customer's home, using floor protection or shoe covers or different things that just show that you respect their home and their space because it's their castle, it's their home.
Right, right. So you, as an individual, are really good at that. Like I remember, that's one of the reasons why we liked having you on the job site, because you could go there and you're likable. The customers liked you. You were considerate of their space. But as you grow your business, the challenge is you have to hire people because you can't be on every job site. And you grew up. You grew a pretty good sized business, so you weren't on the jobs. You had to hire people to go on the job in your place. So what was that like? How difficult was that to bring in employees that could treat a homeowner like you would treat a homeowner?
At first, it was really hard. I was probably, the reason it was hard is holding myself back. I felt like at that earlier stage, I felt like it'd be really cool if I could clone myself. I remember thinking that if I just had 2 more of me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then as time went on, I realized that would be really bad. I think one's just right.
Yeah.
And I surrounded myself with people that were more skilled in other areas than me, that were smarter in other areas than myself. And through doing so, that's where I started having more success, is recognizing that my understanding was good, but as I involved other people's understanding and knowledge and life experiences, we had a lot more success faster. And so surrounding myself with smarter people was a huge part to my success.
Which is a tough pill to swallow in the beginning, because you know everything.
That's what it felt like.
It felt like, right. But you learned that early on, that in order for you to have a certain level of success, you needed to bring in people that were better and smarter. And
I got friends and business associates that haven't been able to let go of that. And in turn, their business stayed at a certain size. But by finding people that were good managers and good individuals to represent the company that we created, it allowed for growth through their efforts. It didn't have to be all me. I wasn't the bottleneck, but a lot of times we bottleneck our businesses by feeling like we have to touch every piece of it. And it has to cross over my desk or get my approval. And as long as I had people that understood my values and my direction as a business, a lot more happened. It was really good.
You know, that's an interesting point, because there are a lot of entrepreneurs, and we both know a lot of people, like you just said, that limit themselves because they feel like they have to be involved in everything. And people, and that only lasts for so long, or you get burnt out, or you just don't grow, which for some people, that's okay.
Yeah, if that's your choice. But if you're choosing to grow, but you can't figure out why you're not growing, maybe look at yourself. That was the case for me.
And did you just figure that out, or did you have a mentor? How did you come to that realization?
So I think I figured that one out mostly on my own. But yes, I had mentors, lots throughout life. You were one of my mentors.
I was.
You were, yes.
Oh boy, now I'm going to blush.
But no, I do remember I was doing sales as well as many other things. And for the first time, I hired a real salesman to come work with us. And I went out on a job as a technician and realized this furnace needs to be replaced. And I thought I could just try and sell it, but I hired this guy to do it. So I brought this guy in I says, hey, I got a customer whose furnace is really old. It's not safe. They'd like to look at the option of replacing it. And he goes out there and calls me up half an hour later, says, hey, just want to let you know we got this scheduled. We're putting in a furnace and an air conditioner. And at that time, I'm like, I would never have even thought of that. So he ended up selling twice of what I would have sold. And I felt like, I'll sell this, no problem, but I'll give it to him. And all of a sudden he did something.
It was a better sale.
He did much better than I did. And it was an eye-opening experience to say, why didn't I do this earlier? And, I asked him, why'd you sell him an air conditioner? The air conditioner works. Well, it's the same age as the furnace. But okay. Like it was really a cool learning experience for me. And I have many of those.
And how far into your journey were you when you hired that salesman? Like how many years into your business?
That would have probably been 8 or 10 years.
So it was a while down the road before you at least hired a salesman.
Yeah.
So you were doing the sales, you were showing up on the job site, but you had guys that worked for you, more technicians.
I did.
And how many did you have? Like, Well, how many did you have at that time? Do you remember?
So at the very beginning, it was just me and Jennifer. So it was me and my wife. And then I started hiring my siblings. So
Oh, great
right?
idea.
And that was based on the workload.
Yeah.
And I love my siblings and we work well together.
Yeah.
So it was a really good experience. Hired my dad. My dad came out and was swinging a hammer and was involved in the business as well early on.
What was, I'm going to back up a little bit. What was your dad, what was his career?
He worked in law enforcement.
So he stayed in law enforcement.
He retired in 2001 from law enforcement.
Okay.
I think it was 2001. At that,
If your wife was here, she would know.
probably
Yeah.
so. She would set me
We'll call her
straight.
later, yeah.
Yeah. And then he came and worked with us for a little while, and that was neat to have that relationship with my dad in the workplace. After hiring family part-time, then we started hiring full-time employees. And first we started with the installation department, so in replacing equipment, and then expanded into installers and technicians. And then I held on to the sales side of things for several more years, at which point I let go of that to a certain extent, 8 or 10 years into it, realizing that I needed to hire guys that specialized in that.
So you, at that point, you were the sales guy, and your technicians were out doing the work. So you had that going for you. But then at a certain point, you realized that a salesman could actually take it to the next level.
And save me time in that area where I could put my time and energy elsewhere, yeah.
Okay. And then how you were in business for how long?
25 years.
25 years. And you had an exit.
Yeah.
And how big was your company from it was you and Jennifer in the beginning, or I'm going to say it was Jennifer and you in the beginning.
There we go.
And then from the time you went to exit, what did your company look like at that point?
We had 75 employees-ish and 40 plus vehicles on the road.
Wow. And of those 75, how many salesmen?
Probably 7 or 8, I would guess.
And full time, they were out there. And how were you getting all these leads? How did that happen? Because I'm sure from day one, leads were coming in, referrals, friends and family and neighbors and so forth. But that only takes you so far. What did it look like when you were at that peak?
So we would track those leads to determine where they came from. A lot of them were customer referrals. We were using online marketing. We hired someone. This is really cool. We hired a guy toward the beginning that was just coming on part-time, and he started out as a lead generator in the Home Depot program because we actually would generate leads through the Home Depot stores.
So when you go into Home Depot and there's a sign that says "We install,"
yeah, that was
it would
us.
be you guys. Okay, cool.
So he took on that role and then went from that to marketing to running. He ran a lot of different things in the business. He looked at it as just a temporary thing, which turned into a career for him, which is still, as far as I know, he's still within the business that I'm no longer part of.
Oh, so he was with you that whole time?
That whole time.
Who was that?
Brian Horton. Yeah.
I must have known Brian, right?
Yeah, he was awesome. You would have met Brian. Really good.
Didn't you have a Jeff
Yeah, Jeff
Walker?
Yeah, he's pretty cool too. That's my cousin.
Oh, it's your cousin.
Yeah.
I remember Jeff. Okay. Did he stick with you for a while?
Yep. So he stuck around, and then him and one of the service technicians decided they wanted to start their own business and
Awesome.
left me.
That never happens.
No. and they did well with that. They did a good job. They ran that business, I think, for 5 years.
So going from your little you and Jennifer business, having a couple employees, having a couple family members working for you, which is awesome, to a place of 75 employees. I mean, that's a huge jump.
Yeah.
And how did you learn that? I can't imagine that UVCC taught you that. They're teaching you the technical side of things. So where did you learn what it took to become this guy versus this guy?
Great question. So in business, there are different levels of business, at least in the HVAC, in the heating and air conditioning industry. We call them walls that you have to go over.
Okay.
And the first wall was the $1 million wall, meaning once you do $1 million in total revenue for the year, that's the $1 million wall. Anything below that, you're in a classification as far as a business. You get over $1 million and you have to start restructuring things.
And is that $1 million wall? Is that a big wall?
It was.
Is it hard to get to for a lot of people?
It shouldn't be, now that I think about it from where I am today, but yeah, it took us a while to get to that, to pass that wall. I don't remember how many years in, couple, 2, 3 years in, which in hindsight, that's something that should go a lot faster. But yeah, but the thing is your business model, your business structure, everything is so different pre-$1 million. Once you get to $1 million, then what you did before doesn't work now. And then there's another wall, which is the $2 or $3 million wall, and then the $5 million wall, and then the 10 million. And so we got to the point where we're doing almost $2 million in a month, and going from struggling to get $1 million in a year, like falling far from that, to hitting almost 2 million in a month was like
in a month.
Yeah, it was.
So one wall is $1 million a year, and for young guys starting out, that's probably a pretty ambitious goal. I think from when young Bronc Walker was looking at the $1 million wall, you're probably like, that's a big wall.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, how many years later, you're going 2 million a month?
Yeah, it wasn't consecutively $2 million in months, but it was
that's where
hitting those numbers. It was like, whoa, we've grown a lot.
Yeah.
And so that would have been like a $10 million year.
Yeah.
And then you have your peak months where you're doing 2 million or over 2 million.
When everyone's air conditioning is not working.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how did I get there was your question.
So there's $1 million, but this is cool. So is this kind of an industry topic? Like there's the wall and the wall and the wall?
Yeah. So that's, as far as mentors, I had great mentors that understood business, but if they don't understand the heating and air conditioning business, they can only take you so far.
Right.
And so then I started finding mentors and coaches that understood those walls, that understood
in that business.
Industry. Yeah. And that was far more helpful than going to a coach that helped hold me accountable to things that weren't necessarily as good as someone that realized and understood the industry.
Yeah.
And so once I started interacting with people like that, I started understanding things to a deeper level.
And were there, I understand that, and I was part of some of these, but there's peer groups. Like I was part of a remodeling peer group that I had other remodeling contractors, and we had coaches and mentors who coached us on how to grow our business the right way. Was that a similar, was that something you were involved in for your business?
I remember sitting in your office and you telling me about that.
Oh, really?
And you referred to a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. You remember that?
Yeah.
And he doesn't talk very much about it in this book, but he references mastermind
groups. Yeah.
And I got more from you about mastermind groups than the book Think and Grow Rich, because you took more time to explain that to me. And after that, I decided I need to start a mastermind group, which I did. I actually started 2 mastermind groups. I say I started it like it was, you gave me the idea, I was implementing the idea, and I found great people to help create that group with me.
So you went and invited people and created your own little mastermind group.
So we had one group that was focused on people in the construction industry.
Yeah.
And that way we understood the trades and could help each other that way. And the other group I created through that idea was just businesses in general. So that involved realtors, title people, whoever was interested that we felt good about inviting. And so, yeah, that helped a lot. And one of the things I really liked about that is you can talk to people about your successes or your failures, but there's certain things you don't share. And this is something you told me. This is how I got it. But
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You said something to the extent of you share 90% of your life with most of the people, but there's that 10% you don't share. And in that mastermind group, that's where we would open up and share our successes or our challenges. Like, I just landed a job for $300,000 and I'm so excited. Here's what it looks like profitability wise. You don't go tell that to certain people, but in that mastermind group we could.
Yeah.
Or I'm so stressed, I don't know how I'm going to cover payroll and I don't know how this is going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to be here in 3 months.
Yeah.
And you don't share that outside, but in that mastermind group, that was the intent. And
that you had that safe place, because you can't talk to your employees about certain things. You can't you don't want to go home and talk to your wife was involved, so it's a little different, but it's hard to talk to the family, and it's good to have people to talk to about that. Yeah, I remember that.
And so that helped me a lot as well. So yes, that was definitely something that helped me grow in my business knowledge, because I went into it thinking I knew everything because I understood the technical side of it, but I was very, very far from being where I needed to be with the business side of it.
Okay, so you had some, and those people would be considered mentors.
Yeah.
You learned a lot from those groups, and then you had some mentors that were specific to your industry.
Yeah.
And are they the ones that taught you, hey, Bronc, once you hit this wall, there's a few things you need to do differently? Is that how that?
Yep. They would say, so once you get to that wall, let's say we're talking the $1 million wall, you get to the top of that wall and they draw it out and you visualize that you're on top of that wall. And they say, you're going to go one of two ways. You're going back down or you're going over the wall. And going over that wall means change. And that seems to be the pretty constant in business is it's a changing target. And
Especially if you want to get over the wall
yeah,
and keep going to the next wall.
correct. I have a friend or business associate. I don't know what I'd consider him, but he was at that wall of the $1 million, and he was running a business that he couldn't get over that wall, and he was ready to just be done. So he decided he was going to sell his business. That's actually how I met him, as he was selling his business, and I ended up talking to him, and I'm like, why do you want to sell? Because I know he's right there at that point of going over that success point.
Yeah.
And once you cross over that, you have the potential to be a lot more successful. And he's
Well,
like,
what industry was he in? Different
same
industry?
same industry.
Okay.
We ended up buying his company.
Oh.
And it plugged and played into our company really well, helped us grow. He was happy to be out of it. But he was so close to such bigger things. And I remember being at that point. One of those points, I haven't told you this story, but one of those points I was stressed. I'm like, I don't have money to pay my suppliers. You were doing a remodel on your house. I don't remember what, you did a few of those.
Yeah.
And I was in your basement doing something with your water heater. Maybe I was doing something with your furnace, but I remember standing in front of your water heater thinking, I wonder if Chris will lend me $15,000 or $20,000. If I just had $20,000, the world would be better.
Yeah.
And then my thought was, but why? What would Chris get out of it? And what would I learn from borrowing money from somebody else? And ultimately, I didn't have that conversation with you, and I made things work and was better for it. But I remember being so like, we're going to be out of business in 3 months if I don't figure this out.
Yeah. And you figured it out.
Yeah.
I probably would have given you the money.
You probably would have.
There are probably strings attached.
Yeah, unquestionably. Yeah, there would have to be to loan somebody high risk money.
Yeah. So you, that's cool. I love your memory, right? Because there's some other things you share with me at lunch the other day that were like, wow, I don't remember that, or I do remember that. So we're going to get into some more of that in a little bit. But you, so let's talk about this fella. You bought his business. Was he doing something a little bit different than you, or was he doing the exact
different
same?
market? So he was in St. George.
Oh, totally different
Yeah.
market. So that allowed you to expand
Yeah.
into the St. George market. Okay, so he wasn't a direct competitor.
No.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so you had some mentors. Now, that getting over that $1 million wall, that's a big step. It sounds like, but then there's the next wall. So is the next wall as big a step as that first one? Or once you made that first summit, was your brain in a different place where you're like, okay, here comes another one, no problem, I got this? Like, what was your mindset going over those walls?
There's so many things that need to change at each wall that I don't know that one was harder or easier than the other, but it just required change. Like, your facility no longer accommodates the business. Your staffing at those walls often needs to be reevaluated with office staff, marketing, like so much needs to be reevaluated. And so was it harder? I think having gone over the first wall gave me confidence that, okay, I'm here on the second wall and it sucks. Like, am I going to fall back down or am I?
So it was equally as hard.
Yeah, I would say so. In some ways it would have been harder. In other ways it would have been a little bit easier. But overall, I would say it was equally hard for different reasons. Yeah.
Okay. And then at the end, when it was time, I'm going to back up a little bit. I have a question.
Yeah, okay.
You ready for this?
Fire away.
Because this is going to be kind of an important thing here, but we all have our own definition of what success looks like. Okay, so I want to know, in your mind, having gone through this journey, like early on, what was your definition of success as a business owner, as building your own business? What did success look like to you then?
I remember, to answer that question, I remember an experience I had when we were out camping. We were probably out on the deer hunt or elk hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting around the campfire, and it was me and my dad and some of my uncles. And I have an uncle who was successful in business. And my dad asked me a question. He says, "Do you know what the difference is between all of us sitting here around the campfire tonight?" And I said, I don't know what you mean. He says, "From a financial side of things." And I said, what do you mean, Dad?" And he says, "I'm here enjoying this, and your other uncles are here enjoying this, but this uncle, he's here enjoying it and making money while he's sitting around the campfire." He says he's got a business that's working for him while the rest of us are here spending money. He's making money camping, hunting, enjoying the outdoors. Mm. And so for me, success was to have my money working for me or have my business working for me so that I didn't have to be there for it to perform and be successful. And so I didn't want it to run my life, which for many years it did. My poor wife would go on a date night finally, and then the phone would ring for the on-call line, and that was me. And
so I'd step,
I'd step out of the movie, or I'd take it at our dinner.
Because you have to do that. That's your business.
I did that for probably 9 or 10 years. I don't know how my wife managed to stay with me, but she's equally vested. She was equally vested, and so success was to have the business working for me without me having to do all the work.
So that didn't really have a dollar amount attached to it.
No.
It was more of just the idea that even when you're out there on the hunt, sitting around the campfire, you know that things are happening back there.
Yeah. And I had that happen. And there was other times I'd be sitting around the campfire and be losing money too. So it was like, right?
It's a little, it ebbs and flows, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it doesn't.
For sure.
At what point did you picture yourself, like at what point in your life did you see this image of your exit? Or did you ever? Or did it just kind of all of a sudden happen one day and you're like, wow?
So I did have goals in mind that I wanted to accomplish to exit. Mm-hmm. My vision would have been, in hindsight, would have been a lot clearer so that I knew what I was aiming for. And I would write stuff down and then I'd set it aside and then I wouldn't see it for 2 or 3 years. So I tried some of those exercises, but I didn't really own them to the level that I needed to get where I needed to get faster. So that's something that I think is important in business, is having a clear plan, and that clear plan should include what the long-term vision is, an exit strategy for me. And I think with that, things happen faster.
So what you're saying is you did some of that, but probably could have done it a little bit more.
Yes, better.
Seriously. Right. And then you think that could have sped up your exit.
Yeah.
But the exit you had, did you see that? I mean, was that like, at what point in your 25-year business were you able to look up at that exit, which is another wall, I guess, and say, okay, this is where I'm going? Did you have that moment?
I think that, I don't remember it specifically, but I would guess that came probably 7, 8 years into it. I enjoy books. I enjoy learning. And there's a book called, I think it's The E-Myth.
Yeah.
And in that book, it talks about create your business in a way that it's always ready to sell. Mm-hmm. And so when I read that book, that was very helpful in the sense of, what a concept. I never thought of that.
Right. And whether you sell it or not, you build your book as if you're going to sell it.
Correct.
Because it affords different opportunities.
That is very true.
That was the very first business book I ever read.
Was that?
The E-Myth.
You probably recommended it to me.
It seems like I used to tell you a lot of things.
Yeah, you did.
That
was likely one of them. Yeah.
It could have been, because that was the very first business book I ever read, and that was like in 93.
Okay.
The book came out in like 86, 87, and I remember that in fact, I couldn't find my original copy of the book. I was looking for it recently, and so I went on eBay and bought and purchased an original E-Myth.
That's cool.
Because they came out with E-Myth Revisited, which came out in the 90s, and they changed it a little bit, and I didn't like the new one, so I went back and found
The old one.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I'm actually reading it right now.
That's
The
ironic.
E-Myth. Yeah. But yeah, it's a great concept. So let me catch up on this. But it says you build your business for one of three reasons. One is you're going to sell it. Two, you're going to franchise it. Or three, you're going to get to a point where you don't have to operate. You can you can retire, and somebody else can run the business, and you can still earn a living. Which all is, and to do that, you have to do the same thing. You have to build a business the same way. So
Yeah.
you read that book and you learned that lesson.
Yeah. So that was at that point that I started considering my exit strategy, I would say.
And then at that point, you said, okay, I'm going to build my business in a manner that I can get to that place.
Correct.
And did you have the numbers in mind? Like you thought, if I can get to 75 employees plus whatever revenue times X, I can exit for this amount? Did you have that
To a certain
specific
extent. And so I had that figured out. And then I had someone approached me that wanted to be involved in the business, and that helped me make it more clear. And that was to determine, what do I really want? When he approached me, he was wanting to play a role in the business that didn't exist. So we started doing weatherization within our company, which meant finding air leaks in the home, doing blower door testing, and doing things that are areas where you lose your heating and cooling from your system that aren't generally taken into account by a heating and air conditioning guy.
Sure.
And so we started a weatherization division. And as part of that, he says, I'd like to be part of the business. And we played with some ideas. And I'm like, what would it take for me to be ready to step away from the business? So at that point is when I started identifying what my exit strategy looked like. So we started the weatherization division together. And after doing that for 2 years, that individual who was very committed to business, he actually worked running the weatherization department for 2 years without even taking a paycheck. And he didn't have set time. He would just come in. He's like, and all that money that it was making was being dumped back into the business. Mm-hmm. And after 2 years, we started talking about the idea of him buying into the business. So he came on as a partial partner.
Of just that division, or the business?
At that point, we were just doing the division, and what was driving the division was incentives through the utility company. Those incentives ended. So at that point, I had to decide, are we done as a weatherization department, which means he's worked for 2 years with nothing?
Nothing to show for it.
Or does he come into the whole business? And so we played with some ideas. And so he came in as a business partner to the whole business, and bought in at a rate that was based on the value of the business at that time. We set some goals that we would accomplish, at which point, and it was nothing formal, but it was, once we get to this point, I think I'll be ready to sell out. And so once we hit that point, it was like, we're here. Like,
really?
Yeah. And so that was a weird time. And it wasn't like I was committed to sell out or he was committed to buy. It was just, that was the thoughts and intents that I had at that point. And
so the plan was for him to buy you out.
that was, he wanted to do that.
So he wanted some sort of blue sky to work towards. He's like, look, we can work together,
Yeah.
but at a certain point, I'd like to buy you out.
Yeah.
And you set some goals.
Yeah.
And you hit those goals.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even a handshake agreement. Like, it was just, this is what I'd like, and this is what I'd like, and all right, well, let's work toward that.
And then all of a sudden you're there.
And then we were there, and it was like,
Now what?
do I do this? And there were some other things that were interesting me. Mm-hmm. And so I actually brought it up with him. I said, hey, I think we're to this point, and what do you think? And well, actually, no. I considered selling him some real estate, so our shop, and he said, I can't make this work, but what about buying the business at this point? And I was like, well, I guess we're there. So he's the one that presented the idea. Yeah. And so at that point, it was like, dang, all right, let's do it.
Oh, so that deal went through.
It did.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was when I was 45. I stepped away from that business at age 45. And still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up.
No kidding. Yeah. And then I think you told me that he has since sold business.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then he turned around. Yep. All right. So those goals were my goals. So fair enough.
Yeah.
And things took a little longer to finalize the sale because of the funding and all that he had to do. And during that time, the opportunity that I was entertaining no longer was available. So then I'm like in between things, and I said, well, I was back and forth in my mind, but ultimately we moved forward with it, closed it. And he was planning on keeping it more long-term was the thought, but then he ended up turning around and selling it to a consolidator a year later.
And a consolidator, for people who don't know, is a larger company that is expanding and growing, and so they're buying companies like you in the same industry in different areas.
Usually throughout the country, and
Throughout
that was
the
the
country.
case with this one.
Right, okay. And that's very, it's happening a lot lately.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
very much so.
So then he ended up doing what he did. He had another exit, or he had the exit. You had an exit, he had an exit.
Right.
Did you participate in that at all? Did
No.
you have any kind of,
No,
you were out?
I was out at that point.
Okay. But I think you still own some real estate.
Yeah.
You own the real estate, and I think you still own the real estate.
Correct.
Yeah. In fact, I remember, your shop was right down the road from where I live.
Yeah.
We both lived in Mapleton, and I could drive by, even though you and I weren't in contact, I would drive by there and I could see, I could kind of watch the growth.
Yeah.
Right? I'd see the vans, another van. I'm like, go Bronc. I was excited for you.
Thank you.
Because you're such a good human. Right? I remember, I think we did a great job back in the day of hiring good people. Like all the subs, all the trades, all the people that were in our customers' homes were good people.
That was definitely your focus. And although I felt I was really good, I wasn't where I needed to be. And you took the time to say, this isn't acceptable. This is what this is what I expect. And so it was really good for us in, I really do look at you as one of my mentors, because you would tell me things that you saw from what you were expecting as a customer, or if you were the homeowner, what you would expect to happen. And you were the one writing the checks for the work we did for you, so I did it. Yeah. I had to listen. I had to go get my hair cut.
Okay. Tell me that story. That's actually a good story. That's pretty. I laughed.
You want that story?
It's funny because I am older
and wiser,
and I've had a lot of stuff happen over the years. And so when I hear stories about how I was back in my younger day, it kind of makes me laugh, actually. Like, I did that? I said that? Really? Yeah, the haircut story.
Okay, so I found myself so busy that something that wasn't a priority was getting my hair cut. So once it got so bad, which was usually 3 times a year, I'd go in and get it cut so I could see again, like.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. I've never been too worried about what I look like. I mean, my wife needs to tell me, don't wear that shirt. I didn't even ask her today, though.
Oh, boy. Yeah. There we go. But blue's a good color.
Good.
Yeah.
So I came into your office and you said, we've got this customer that needs stuff done, and I want you to come out and look at it and assess what's going on. And I said, okay, great. He says, I have an appointment tomorrow with them at 2. I said, okay, can you be there? I says, yeah. And he says, okay, but you can't be there unless you go get your hair cut first. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I really said that?
You did.
Oh, man.
You said you need to go get cleaned up because you look pretty shaggy. And I'm sure that I did. I mean, thinking about not getting my hair cut for 4 months, I guess that's what it would be.
Yeah.
And you went on to explain to me that you had a reoccurring appointment. You'd get your hair cut and you'd schedule a new appointment for the next one. Yeah, before you left. And I was like, oh, what an idea. Because that was the other challenge, is I had to call and schedule it.
And it's hard.
Yeah. And so at that point, ever since then, which I don't know how many years that's been,
a long time
it's
ago,
probably pushing close to 20.
Yeah. So you do that
every 8 weeks,
every
whether
8
I need it
weeks.
or not.
Wow.
Yeah,
8 weeks. The hair's not growing as fast as it used to, probably.
Oh,
you have good hair.
I don't worry about it too much. I think it has gotten thinner, but yeah.
That's funny. And then I think you were telling me another story the other day I thought was pretty, I just liked hearing it because it makes me feel good about myself. Because over time you have successes and you have failures. You learn lessons over the years, right? And the last few years have been tough on me, business-wise. And so it's nice to hear some of the old stories when I was actually doing things right and, things were going and we were having success. But so tell me about this, tell the story about on the job site, you were leaving for the night. You were coming back the next day. Right. Yeah. I thought that was a good story.
It was a remodel, but it was also new construction. It would kind of fell in the category of both because there was the home, and then you were doing something that was kind of shut down from the home. So, as a young person on the job, I was thinking, okay, we're done for the night. We're coming back tomorrow. we used a lot of extension cords back then before all these battery tools. Had extension cords running across the floor and metal pipes sitting there on the ground, and we're getting ready to leave. And we said, well, we'll see you tomorrow. And you're like, well, you're not leaving this mess. What do you mean? What mess? and you're like,
it's kind of like new construction.
Yeah. And you said the homeowner's going to come out here, and you got extension cords and metal all over the place, and they're going to trip on something or get hurt. I'm like, they're not. What? And you said you need to start cleaning up after yourself. And I was like, you're the boss type of thing. I was like, okay. And then as I'm cleaning up and thinking about it at that point, and even more so as time went on, I'm like, one of those things I look back on, you should always clean up after yourself. If you're leaving the job, like you're leaving the job, don't leave it a mess. And so that's something that we implemented because of you, which made us a lot more successful, especially as we focused on the replacement market or the retrofit market, because we're in customers' homes. Don't leave that sitting there because you're going to use it tomorrow. That's still their home or their space. Mm-hmm. Clean it up. And so you calling me out at that young stage of things really carried throughout the whole time of the business.
Get a haircut, clean up after yourself. I was like a parent.
Yeah.
I was like the dad.
You're my mentor.
I was the dad.
Someone had to keep me in line. Yeah, I knew everything, so it was hard to be told I didn't.
Yeah. I do remember my motto with all of our employees at the remodeling company was, every night after we've left the job site, I wanted our customers to be able to walk through whatever we were working on barefoot.
That's cool.
Right. And I remember that was kind of how I got that across to people, was like, you sweep up, you clean up. If they walk out into that room addition barefoot, they're not stepping on nails, they're not stepping on sawdust. And I remember that was kind of my motto, is how I wanted people to feel, because I wanted to do things differently. I didn't want to be your typical contractor who leaves the mess behind. And we acted, I think we were somewhat professional, and
very much
and it was having great trades. And I remember we would find a good guy like you, and we would stick with them, like, because you just knew, like Wyatt and electrical stuff. Wyatt understood what we were trying to accomplish, and he also parlayed that into a little bit bigger organization. Yeah. And we'll get him on here. We'll get him on here. Yeah, because we had a lot of good guys over the years. A lot of good guys. Okay, Bronc. Now I know a lot of people build their business, and there's an opportunity for kids to get involved. What was your philosophy about that? Did you want your kids to come into the business? I know they did work, they helped out, but did you ever want one of your kids to come in and take over? What was that? What was that like in your world?
That's a tricky one. So I've seen businesses get handed to kids and them not appreciating it or not, like, running it into the ground. And so I had that reservation or concern, because if you didn't create it, you don't understand how much work went into starting it and building it. And I didn't want someone to step into it feeling entitled to take it. And on the other hand, if they were interested, I wanted it to be available. So growing up, my kids did work in the business. They would do initially, they would do stuff in the shop, or they would do stuff with the recycling. They did pretty good with recycling. Air conditioning units are made of copper and aluminum.
Oh, yeah.
And steel.
I remember they used to be piled up there in your yard.
Sometimes they probably get kind of high. Yeah.
Sometimes. It made me nervous driving by.
Yeah,
Bronc, you need to pick up after yourself.
You probably did think that. You wouldn't have been the only one, because sometimes it got pretty cluttered.
Yeah.
But then they would go out there and do some of that recycling, and they enjoyed that. Of my three sons, they're all in the trades. So I've got a son that's a plumber, another son that's been studying and has worked in the HVAC industry. He's right now serving a mission as well for our church. And
where is he?
He's in Louisiana.
Oh yeah, he's getting home. New Orleans. Okay,
this
awesome.
week. He gets home this week.
Cool.
So
that'll be cool.
He'll probably step into the HVAC industry.
Yeah.
And then my youngest son is doing electrical.
Oh, so you can, when you go build a house and you got your guys there.
I got the guys.
Yeah, they're gonna be expensive.
They will be, right?
Let me spend some time with them. Let me spend some time with Uncle Chris, and I'll teach them.
There you go.
How to make money from the old man.
Good.
Yeah.
They'll make me put on a belt.
But it sounds like the timing. There was never a point where, like, one of them just jumped into your business and wanted to be part of your business and like said, "Dad." The time
I was selling it, that came up. Wait, Dad. Aren't you gonna wait? What are you doing?
Oh, really?
I wanted that. And,
yeah.
And they were young enough that it was such that timing wise and in my mindset, it didn't work out that way.
But they're all in the business. Do they come to you for advice? Do you coach your kids?
As much as they'll let me. Yeah. So that's one of the motivating factors behind selling the business, was to be able to spend time with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And because at the first I worked way too much. I was so involved in the business that I was neglecting my wife. I was neglecting my children, all in the name of, I've got to build this business to take care of you guys, but neglecting them through the whole process. And
so the life balance was a little
way
out of whack.
Way out of whack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was playing catch up later on as I was spending less time in the business. And then when I sold the business, I was able to just help my children based on where they were at with what
And they're
they
like,
were
"Who are you again? You look familiar."
No, I say I shouldn't beat myself up too much, but I think my oldest one was the one that was neglected the most, and then next came my daughter, and then two sons after that. So,
but then your business, you got to a point where you could step away a little bit more, and you were spending more time with the family. You started to bring balance into that
Correct.
life,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you sold, it was even more so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my son bought a house at shortly after that, and I was able to spend some time helping him remodel his basement because I was available. They didn't need me at work anymore. I was gone.
And you had new tools, and
right?
You had your own tools without extension cords.
Yeah, all the fancy stuff.
Isn't it great?
Mm-hmm.
The tools nowadays are amazing.
They are.
I mean, can you imagine if we had those tools back in the day? Like extension cords were the bane of our existence.
Yeah.
And
very first thing you're looking
air
at
compressors and cords and
Mm-hmm.
hoses.
Yeah, it's a different world with that.
And now I go look for an extension cord at my house, and it's weird because we just don't have, like, I remember in the old days we had hundreds extension cords everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm like,
Don't need it that much.
no. And the tools nowadays are great.
Yeah.
I know my son has kind of introduced me to these new fancy cordless tools. And at first I resisted. I really did resist.
Oh, not me. I didn't resist at all.
I resisted. Because I kind of got out of the construction industry for a while, so I wasn't hands-on anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then my sons and my sons are buying these tools, these cordless, and I'm like, yeah, they don't work. Yeah, they don't work. Like, I remember in the old days, the very first Milwaukee cordless drills, they'd last like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But now it's amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
It's amazing. Okay, so now here you are. You've done your exit. How long ago was this?
5 years.
5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a next for you? Like, what's next?
Great question. I haven't stopped doing business. I just stepped away from that business and that industry for that time. We actually had that business, and then me and a couple partners started another HVAC business, and I sold that one at about the same time.
Oh, that was a separate. Okay.
Yeah.
Competing or just different?
Different. So one of the things that drove that idea was we did a lot of work through the Home Depot program, and we were approached by Lowe's, and they offered us the opportunity to work in their stores, and Home Depot says, "Oh, it's a conflict of interest."
Oh, yeah.
So we started another business that the primary focus was taking on the Lowe's accounts and then doing a different level of service than what we were doing in the primary business.
Okay, but you really had to have a separate entity to do that, and you did that. Okay, so you did that. Now we're still on the question of next.
Next.
Yeah.
So we do have a couple of small businesses that either I'm involved with or my children. Like, they're more for my children. And so we do some of that stuff. But my youngest is soon to be moving out, and I am asking, now what? And I have dabbled in ideas. The tricky thing is there's always more. There's always more.
Yeah.
And asking myself, what does that mean? Like, how much do I want to commit my time to that for that financial gain? And I've really enjoyed the freedoms that I've had with where we are financially and with where we are with our children. And so I don't want to do it just because, hey, I want to get more, but I do want to do it because I want to get more. So it's this thing that I deal with inside. But now that my children are moving out, it's going to be, or my last child will be moving out soon. It'll be asking myself, what now?
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to use my time for?
So is your youngest the one that's coming home from the mission?
Oh, excuse me. So I have one more. So he'll come home, but he won't stick around very long.
He'll be off doing whatever he does. And so you have one more younger.
Correct.
Girl or boy?
Boy.
and he's just graduated high school. Oh yeah, he graduated high school the same time as my Cody did.
Yeah.
In fact, we haven't asked him if they probably know each other.
I meant to ask.
Maple Mountain, right?
Yeah, I meant to ask him, but I
Yeah.
forgot to.
But he was a
check it.
wrestler. My meathead was a football player.
Right. Yeah.
All the wrestlers, they're the straight A students. They're disciplined. Football players like,
Well, let's go hit something.
yeah, that's good. Okay, so so he graduated. He'll be going on a mission probably, or is he still?
Yep, that's what he's hoping to do.
Yeah, but either way, he'll be out pretty soon. Okay, and then you'll be you and your wife.
Yeah, and then
And she's not gonna let you sit around and get lazy.
no, no.
She's not.
There's
I'm pretty
always
sure she's
there's
not.
always projects. She doesn't even have to push me. There's always something.
Yeah.
But we have played with different business ideas as they come up. So we're always looking to say, is this something we want to dive into? We've played.
Don't
with
do a restaurant.
You told me that. You warned me.
Don't do a
All
restaurant.
right.
If you're ever tempted, just call me and I'll
You talk
set
me
you
out of
straight.
it.
Yeah, don't
Very
do it.
good.
In fact, if you just want to write me a check for X and not do a restaurant, it's
It'll
like
save me. Yeah,
it'll
it'd
save
be like
you
the same
headache.
thing without the headache.
Yeah, without the headache. Okay, so a couple questions as we're winding down.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, the whole idea of this podcast is I just want experiences, and people can learn from that. Like I remember as a young entrepreneur, go-getter, I always like to hear the stories of people that were out there just doing it, and I could just take little bits and pieces. And you've had there's a ton of great nuggets that have come out of this conversation. I know this is your first time doing it, and I know you were nervous to do that,
Nice.
but you know what? It's been awesome.
Thank you.
Because you're just sharing your story, and your story is a great story. But I have three last questions that I want to throw at you. Now I don't promise there's only three left, but I have three.
All right, let's do it.
Number one, you're sitting at this table, sitting across from the young Bronc Walker.
Okay.
The young Bronc Walker who's just getting ready to open the door to this entrepreneurial journey. What piece of advice do you give him as he's starting down this road?
That's a really good question.
You remember that young Bronc Walker?
Oh,
He
I
smiled
do.
a lot,
Yeah.
has good teeth, had good hair, wasn't as gray.
Wasn't as gray.
Yeah. He was pretty fit. I mean, you're still pretty fit. So
So I think that at that stage, when I was at that stage of business, being young in it, I was so focused on doing the work, and I wasn't focused on building the business as much. And I would say I spent 95% plus, probably 99% of my time on doing the work within the business. So the advice I would give myself or someone at that stage is spend more time building the business. So I would change it so that I was spending 30% working in the business and 70% training and coaching and mentoring for the positions that the business was going to need so that it could grow. I feel if I would have done that earlier on, the business would have grown faster, which was what my goal was.
yeah.
And I would have had great people that I could rely on and trust on, and the business wouldn't even know I was gone if I had those people in place earlier on, because it got to that point where I could be there and not be there, and it was just as successful
Right.
because I had great people in the right
Which
places.
is the E-Myth talks about that. The E-Myth talks about working in the business versus working on the business. So you would tell your younger self, hey, from the get-go, spend more time working on the business
Correct.
and less time in, and then you get to that place quicker.
Yeah. And
Okay.
if I would have trained people to do what I was doing and trust them to do what I was doing.
Which is hard to let go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's,
That's a good answer.
thank you.
Okay, the second question is very similar, and you've already kind of touched on it, but now you're sitting across from some young entrepreneur who's getting ready to go off into his life journey. He wants to be an entrepreneur, doesn't know what business, but he wants to be an entrepreneur. What's the advice you would give that young person who's ready to do this?
I enjoy that, by the way, talking to someone that has that desire. And what I've seen with the ones that I've interacted with recently is they're so worried about getting everything just right that they're not starting. And so I would say to that young entrepreneur that's considering something, your plan doesn't have to be perfect to start. Have a plan, have a vision, have a direction, and realize that plan may change. But start. Like, don't
Just go and do.
go and do it. Like that's what business is work. You're going to work for somebody else, or you're going to work to create your business. But if you've got a good business plan and talk to people with experience that have business and business sense that will say, oh yeah, but what about this? Or no, that looks good. But then start implementing it and tweaking it as it's needed. But don't wait, because next thing you know, you're going to be 50 years old and saying, how in the heck did I get here? Right?
That's old. That's old. Whoa. And that's great advice, because it reminded me of the old term paralysis by analysis. Like how much time do people spend hyper fixating on their business plan, and they got to make sure everything's perfect before they actually go and do. Yeah. But the reality of it is just get out and do it.
Get started.
Because also whatever business plan you created today is going to be a little different down the road. In a week, in a month, in 10 years, in 20 years, it's going to be different.
Right.
So just go and do and adapt.
And it does. It changes. Yeah. It change, like in my case with those walls, but even before approaching those walls, there were constant changes.
Like the business plan that you would have written for the $1 million wall is one thing, but what you're saying is now you get over that $1 million wall, and you kind of got to scratch it and rewrite the business plan. Yeah. So you just have to go with the flow. Yeah. You have to adapt. You have to go roll with the punches.
And recognizing the signs that are making it so your business or your industry is taking you in a good direction or not so much. Like maybe I'm going down a dead end road.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last question, maybe the last question.
Okay.
After all the stories you shared, after all the lessons you've learned, I mean, you've had success, you've had some tough go. The main question is, and there really isn't a right or wrong answer. Okay. There kind of is.
All right.
And if you give me not the right answer, I'm going to remind you. I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
But the main question is, would you do it over again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, there's things that I think I would want to change, but I know where my choices have brought me today, and I'm happy with where I am. I'm grateful to be where I am. And so I wouldn't want to change something that would make it so that it's different. But in other ways, if I could avoid some of the pitfalls, but a lot of those pitfalls is where I learned the most too. So take that out and I wouldn't be the person that I am today.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. That was the right answer.
Okay, good.
Just so you know.
So yes, definitely, I would do it again.
That was a very right answer, because I believe that. Like I believe that we are who we are, and we got here because of all those experiences, the good ones, the bad ones. That's who we are, as a result of that.
I've asked myself this question before: is what would I do differently? Like what industry would I choose differently? And I've enjoyed this industry. I've actually been quite passionate about a heating and cooling system, contrary to what some people might think. Like I would, when I was in it, I would get excited about going into the Parade of homes and opening up the mechanical room door. I'd be at a friend's house and I'd be like, "Where's the mechanical room?
Yeah, kind of look at your furnace.
I want to check it out, see what." And I enjoyed the industry a lot, and there was always something to learn. And I think that holds true in most, if not all, industries. Is there's always opportunity for learning and growth, and I enjoy to learn and grow.
So no matter what the industry is, there's tons of opportunity for success. You're going to grow along the way. You're going to learn along the way. Mentors, important to have good mentors.
Yeah.
You shared some good. You shared some great experiences. You were a learner, and you watched and you learned. And I don't know how many high school students are like, I want to grow up and be an HVAC guy, right. But you did it, and you had great success, and you are now enjoying the fruits of your labor. And there's something else great happening around the corner, I would say.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Bronc, that was awesome. That was fun. That was fun catching up.
It was. Thank you, Chris.
We did this over lunch about a month ago.
And then at the end of it, then the next day you texted me and said, "You want to come be on a podcast?" And I'm like, "Huh?"
Crickets.
Right. That might have taken me a day or two to respond.
Yeah, sorry, I'm out of signal right now. Yeah, I'll get back to you. Never. Yeah. No, but it was great. It was harmless, huh?
It was a neat.
Yeah, and we've been here for
a
little over an hour.
Okay. You have to cut some of it out then.
No, I don't know.
All right.
Well, we do have to do a little editing, but it won't be bad. Okay. Thanks, Bronc. Appreciate it.